How do you feel about that right now?
How I feel about it right now?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Right now it's crazy because I didn't go.
What are you feeling right now, Peter?
You know, I could talk about it because I think if I talk about it,
It's all right.
it's okay.
What do you do about Peter who loves hard, though? Like, when we talk about these women, right? The women you loved, right?
I never won in that. I never won in that arena. We're at One Society podcast over here at One Society restaurant, and I'm sitting down with somebody that is so necessary for me to sit down with this man, okay, Dr. Tartt, because I have all kind of issues. Okay, I only been in my entire life, I only been to therapy once. Okay, all right, and actually, I believe saved my life. That's why I'm sitting on this couch today, because I was absolutely a fucking mess. Okay, all right, and it saved me, and you know, I was raised by Jamaican parents who was too busy taking care of 9 kids, and they blue collar worker. My mother's a therapy aide. She was a chamber aide, and not fully educated, but smart. My dad was a carpenter. And they just didn't have the time to, when my grandmom died or my little brother died, to make sure that we go and get counseling or any kind of treatment whatsoever to deal with the loss of someone close to us. And I went through something where for 50 years not dealing with it. And when my dad died, my dad is the only man that I've ever looked up to, Dr. Tartt. And when I say I look up to him, I admire him. Okay, and as I get older, my dad hit me once in my entire life. He told me back when I was 66 years old, I was live at 72 Chisholm Avenue in Kingston, Jamaica, and we peeled some mango, and he told me to go throw away the skin.
Okay.
Right? Because we had enough mango.
All right.
All right, and I said yes, and he was testing me. And he said, Peter, go throw away these mango skin. And I said, okay, Dad. And I walked, and he wasn't there. And he said, yo, the mango's right here. I'm going to slice them up, and you're going to have it when you come in. And I walked to the back of the house, and he wasn't looking. And I went and I bite into the skin that he told me to throw away. And lightning flash. It got real dark. It stings so hard. I thought I was dead. It was the belt that went across my back.
I was about to say.
Because I didn't listen. He hit me once in my entire life, and I remember it my entire life, 6 years old, because he gave me one instruction to do something, and I went against him. And he never had to hit me again. And I remember when I was younger, and all 7 of us was in one room in Jamaica. One room, the same tenement. We call it a tenement yard.
Okay.
Okay, we didn't have money to get a house, so we live in one room.
Oh, 10 of y'all?
All 7 of us at the time.
Okay, all right.
All right, and I remember, you know those louver windows?
Yeah, that you open up?
Yeah,
okay.
I remember someone put a long stick to the louver window, because my dad used to work, and he'd come home with his money on a Friday. And they put the long stick through the louver window, and I was the only one that was up. Okay, and we all like a double bed. All right, the bed take up the whole room. All of us on the bed. And I saw the stick going through the louver window. I'm looking at it, and it's trying to take my dad's pants off the door to bring it back over. And I was trying to wake my father up, because I don't know if they had a machete, if they had a gun, if they had anything. And I keep on squeezing my father, and my father looked at me like this. And I look, and I point up, and he saw his pants, okay, on this long stick going across.
Someone's trying to steal him.
Yeah, trying to steal his pants. Get it to the Louvre and then pull it out because they just figure his wallet is in it. And he got up and he run out there, and I didn't think he caught the person, but like, then I know we weren't really safe. You know what I'm saying? He moved from that house, and he's a carpenter, so he went and built something in this little town called Augustown in Jamaica, which is like, that's where Sanchez, I don't know if you know who Sanchez is.
No, I don't.
He's a reggae artist.
Okay.
Big time reggae artist. He's from down there. And you can't go to Augustown unless you're from Augustown.
Okay.
Because there's soldiers there and police there. And if you're not from down there, they won't let you go down there because they're not responsible for you when you go down there.
You don't know.
That's where I'm from.
Okay.
But anyway.
Now, I appreciate that background.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you opened up just about, black men, especially Jamaican men, when it comes to counseling, right? We don't look at it the right way, right? So you think about like kings. Kings have a huge council, people that they advise. You have a number of advisors. You have financial advisors. You talk about real estate. You probably have health. You probably have a fitness coach, right? And we have all these advisors. They make the king smarter. One of the things that we reframe is that black men need someone to talk to for wise counseling. And it's not the fact that I'm wise, it's talking to someone makes you wiser because you get a chance to hear yourself think and someone pay attention and analyze.
Yeah.
And you opened up, about, even now, having fond memories about your dad. Do you remember how old you were when your dad passed?
No, it was only 4 years ago. I'm 64 years of age right now, so I was 60 when my dad passed, and I can tell you what happened. I was with my dad. He's a jokester. He don't talk too much, but he's a practical jokester. So April of 2020 during COVID. COVID started on March 16th, okay, to date of 2020. And I was in Miami. I was in Miami Beach, and I just put up everything that I had to do this restaurant on South Beach, and it was an incredible location because I don't know of a black man that ever had a waterfront restaurant like the one I had on South Beach.
That's prime real estate.
Okay, when you come over MacArthur Causeway, you come over that bridge, and you look to the left, Bar 1. I was so proud to have Bar 1 right there below the Bentley Bay condo. And a Jewish landlord, Scott Robbins, friend of mine, that this was the 5th properties I was doing with that family. He's the largest single owner, commercial developer, real estate guy on South Beach. And he gave me the opportunity to do a restaurant there. And the only reason why Scott gave me that opportunity is because Scott, being Jewish, knew that up until 1949, Jews wasn't allowed to live north of 5th Street on Miami Beach. I don't know if you noticed. Okay, so in Miami Beach, Jews wasn't allowed up until 1949 to live 5th of Miami Beach. So from 5th to, if you go to this famous crab house down there, Joe Stone Crab. Every sitting president have visit Joe Stone Crab, which is on First and Collins. All right, it was a Jewish community. So you remember when his father wasn't allowed to pass 5th to own anything or to visit anything, and in 1986, I wanted to do a venue on Miami Beach, and there was never a black owner in the history of Miami Beach. And Scott owned a building that used to be called McCory's, which is like Woolworths. All right, and black kids wasn't allowed at that 1437 Washington Avenue. Black kids wasn't allowed to go to the counter to order ice cream. okay? And Scott bought that building. And it was dormant for like 30 years, all right? So when he showed me that space and we walked upstairs, the door going towards the restroom, because you know, when you're a restaurant owner, you always want to check the electrical and you always want to check the plumbing, right? So I want to check the plumbing because it's most expensive. The sign on the bathroom says blacks only and whites only. So it was, I've never seen segregation coming out of Brooklyn, New York. So it's the first time I'm seeing it. And I was embarrassed behind it. And I got the creeps. I said, I don't want the space. All right, and I left. I went back years later and I got the same space. But he ever gave me the opportunity to do 7 different venues on South Beach. So when it was time for me to get the waterfront property, he gave it to me. He could have gave it to anybody, but he gave it to me. All right, and I was so proud.
Did your dad get you into business?
No, my father's a carpenter.
So how did you talked about your dad?
Yeah.
All right, and then your dad passing.
Yeah.
And then you talked about early on, you know, your dad having an impact, only having to discipline you once. All right. What do you feel like you learned from your dad?
Integrity.
How did he teach you that?
Integrity. You have to stand for something. You have to keep your word. You have to be a protector of the family. You have to be a provider for your family. Okay, even if you have kids on the outside, okay, you have to take care of them as much as you do with the kids on the inside.
Okay.
Because we're not perfect. My father, he taught me that.
Now, did he walk it?
He walk it. He walk it 1,000%. My father used to work 4:30 in the morning as soon as I got 17, 18 years old and I was in college and I used to come home for the summer to work with my dad. You can't live in that house where my father was and being a young man and not get up when he get up.
Okay, that was the standard.
Yeah, you can't be sleeping when you get up to go to work. You better have something to do, or if you're going with him. Because he's so good at his job, the Carpenters Union, he used to work for a construction company in New York called Slattery. And they like to, there's a lot of Italians and Irish, and they like to, men, and they like to hire black men that's island people.
Okay.
Because they hard working. And my father was a specialist at doing staircase. So he was a shop steward. So all the foundation had to be built to pour concrete. My father was in charge of that. So when he said my son are coming home, or my son Peter is coming home from college and he needs to work this summer, they gave him no hassle. So I got on the job site. I got in the union.
Okay.
Okay. In 1982, I was making $40 an hour.
That's good money.
In 1982.
So your dad taught you integrity.
Exactly. Exactly.
Let me ask you this deep question.
Yeah.
What did your dad teach you about relationships?
He didn't really teach me. He wasn't, like West Indian parents really don't like to talk about to their kids adult shit. They really don't. You know what I'm saying? You're a child until you become an adult. I can't really talk to you. Mind your business. Stay out of your business. I remember I used to see outbursts in my house where my mom used to be chasing him. She would go to the kitchen to get a knife to chase him, and he'd be running and running and dodging because he's not gonna fight her. I've never seen my father even aggressively approach my mom to even put his hands on her. Okay, because most of the time he was guilty of the shit that he was running from. Okay, that means she caught him or she heard about a child on the outside that she didn't know, but she stick in there because my parents know each other from, my dad was 17 years old and my mom was 19. My dad met my mom when she had 2 kids, 2 girls, all right? And the father for the 2 girls wasn't there, and he met her and he said, hey, those are my girls and you're gonna be my wife, and they never left each other. Yeah.
What do you think you learned?
From that?
Yeah, about the behavior of men, the behavior of a wife. sticking together? Like, what is a kid, like, as you're watching this?
I'm going to say some shit I never said before.
Okay.
But my father used to tell me that it's not natural for a man to be with a woman and only one woman all his life.
Okay.
Okay? But if you chose one woman to be your wife, make sure you're the provider for that woman. And if you chose to have kids with any woman, make sure you're the provider for that child.
Okay.
Okay? And I watched my dad had, well, I remember in 1987, I was going to Jamaica. And my father said, hey, come and see me. And I went to see him, and they said, when you go down to Jamaica, 1987, he said, when you go down to Jamaica, I need you to go to this address. And he wrote the address on a piece of paper. And I said, what is this address? What do you want me to do? You want me to get you some white rum? You want me to bring back some white rum? And he said, no, I want you to go see your brother.
What?
And I looked at him like, what? Just like what you just said, what? And I said, what?
How old were you?
In 1987, I was 26, going on 27.
And this is the first time you ever met your brother?
First time I ever heard of my brother. Okay? And I said, what? And he said, yeah, this is your brother. His name is Bobby. I said, I have a brother named Bobby. I'm looking at him, man. I'm grown now, because I could talk shit now. I couldn't talk shit to him when I was younger.
Okay.
I'm like, I got a brother named Bobby? Why you tripping, yo? And he laughed, and he said, I'm not. It's your brother. When you go down there, I need you to go bring him. I was doing well at the time. So I said, go get him, give him some money, okay, meet his mom, okay, because I'm working on his visa to get him to come here to live with us. And I looked at him like, does mom know this? And they say, yeah, mom already know. Okay. That's how I met my brother Bobby.
Okay.
And when I went to Jamaica, I couldn't wait, because I wanted to see what, you know, I had Earl and Tad. Tad died in 1975. He got hit by a car in Brooklyn.
That's your oldest brother?
My youngest brother.
Youngest brother, okay.
My two brothers that I grew up with is Tad and Earl. And in 1975, they went 6 blocks away from where I grew up to bag groceries to make a little money. I don't know what the fuck they even know about money when they were 7 and 9 years old. All right? And they were running to cross the street at Ebbets Field, a famous Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, where Brooklyn Dodgers are from. And Tad looked like you, to be honest with you. It was just crazy. He was light skinned and pretty boy. Okay, all right, yeah. And Tad ran faster than Earl, and the car hit Tad and hit Earl back on the sidewalk and drag him. And you know what's so funny about that? This is crazy. Because I had a conversation with my brother Earl, who's now 58, and I'm 64. And I had a conversation with him 3 weeks ago for the first time. He opened up. And he said, when I looked at Tad, it wasn't my brother. Because he was dark skinned. And I thought that was Tad, so I ran home. And I'm like, what do you mean it was dark skinned? But when the car hit him and dragged him, all the blood rushed to his head. So his complexion changed immediately. And he said that, and I'm looking at him. And it really fucked me up when he said that. Because when I found out, I was 15 years old. I just came home from Kaskasco pool in Bed-Stuy, and I heard my mom screamed out. I saw Tad. He was on top of the fridge. He's a jokester. And he hit me and he ran. He always wanted me to chase him, and I was too tired. I didn't chase him. And then he went outside, and it's a summer day, and school was out, and they ended up going where they weren't supposed to go, because he was never supposed to leave the block. And we slept in a room with a bunk bed when I'm on top, and my 2 little brothers on the bottom. And I heard my mom screamed out, and when somebody said Tad is dead, I never went there. I never went.
You never went to go
see where it was. I just talked to my sister 2 months ago, and I found out, my older sister, and found out she went. And when he got in the ambulance, he was already dead.
Why didn't you go?
I froze. I completely froze. I don't know why. I was 15.
Yeah.
I froze. And
why do you describe it as freezing?
Because I didn't do anything.
Well, what were you supposed to do?
I don't know. Everybody went down there to see. I didn't go.
How do you feel about that right now?
How I feel about it right now?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Right now it's crazy because I didn't go.
What are you feeling right now, Peter?
You know, I could talk about it because I think if I talk about it,
it's all right.
it's okay. You know, it's so weird. I don't remember the funeral. I've never been to the burial site. And I just locked it away.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a common response. When you don't want to deal with something, to avoid pain, sometimes we avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, something's happening inside of you. Are you able to describe it? Like, that's a lot for a 15-year-old boy to say he froze versus being in grief.
Mm-hmm.
Tissue, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Peter, it feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like you're blaming. Are you blaming yourself for not going? Are you faulting yourself? Maybe that's the right word.
No,
for not.
I don't think I'm blaming myself because I'm not in control of that. As I get older, I know better, right?
Yeah.
But my grandmother, who raised me after my parents left Jamaica to come to America for, you know, everybody that leaves the island to come to America is coming for a better life, right? So when they left, when my parents left to come to America for a better life, they left with my grandmother. And we all got the visa, and we all came at one time. And we left our grandmother, and she's the one who raised me.
Mm-hmm.
And when she died, when I was here 2 years later, my parents didn't have enough money to take us back to say goodbye. They took the three oldest girls. I'm the fourth. I'm the oldest boy. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't able to go. So that always bothered me. And then 2 years later, not even a year later, because we came to America in December 18, 1973. Mm-hmm. And the year later, my grandmother died. And I wasn't able to say goodbye to her, and I loved her. I think I was her favorite. Yeah. And then a year later, my brother died. So I didn't get to really properly say goodbye to anybody.
So no closure.
No closure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's unfair. You had no control over that. You know, Peter, first of all, let me apologize for not.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, let me say, I didn't, and just full transparency, when you were being open, I didn't know whether to grab your arm. I didn't know whether to grab tissue. I didn't know whether that would offend you or whether that was being supportive. So I want to just put that out there, right? And just learning you, man, and how to support, you know, brothers when they're talking about pain. Let me also share this. Like, it's 4 responses to trauma. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fawn is where you people please just to survive. I'm just gonna make them happy so nothing happens. What you described was freezing, but it was actually a trauma response. You tell me, being wise, having kids, what is a 15-year-old supposed to do in that scenario?
I don't know, because I didn't know for years. I just locked it away, and I never went back to his gravesite. never went back to his graveside. I don't even know where my grandmother is buried.
Why?
Okay. Because I think my parents deliberately do that also. I think they definitely shut things down and don't talk about it. I tell you, like, I just spoke about it with I was in New York 3 weeks ago, and me and my sister was talking about it. She's older than me. And she's like, this is the first time I found out that she went down there. She was the first one on the scene, and she was in the accident. Could you imagine we from the same mom and same dad, and we never had that conversation for 50 years?
So this is just talk.
Yeah.
That when there's stress,
yeah,
when there's even death, siblings don't come together and talk?
Not in my family. Oh. We're weird as fuck. I'm gonna say that we're weird because, not in my family, because I have 3 sisters older than me. Then it's me, then it's my sister Debbie, then it's my brother Earl, and then Ty died. And then I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters outside of that weren't raised in the same household with us, but my father, because he was the type of guy that he was, he makes sure that you know that was your brothers and your sisters, right? Even though we weren't close, but they're still my brother and my sister. But we never talk, my parents never talk about it.
They never talk about what happened with your brother?
No. They locked it away because I didn't know. I only knew what they taught me.
So you learned.
I didn't know anything.
To lock it away.
Yeah.
But even to this day, you're still grieving.
When my father died, 2 weeks before he died, you know, like, we're from nothing, right?
Humble beginning.
Yeah. You guys call it humble beginning, but America is paradise compared. You live in the projects in America. It's paradise compared to where I'm from.
Fair.
That's why there's such a disparity between African Americans and island people, because what you guys have that you take for granted, we never see until we come here. So we couldn't understand why you're not grateful. So it becomes a conflict immediately. And I came here in the 70s, in the early 70s. Okay, when Dr. King died, it hurt us, and we in Jamaica. It hurt us more than it probably hurt the people that was here, who was around it, for the fact that he was a beacon of hope for humanity, for black people, even in Jamaica. We never met him. But because he is who he is and he sacrificed his life, okay, you know what it's like if you know that you fight against the people? Those people are evil. Those people are evil. Yeah. When the Mayflower ship hit Boston Harbor, Plymouth Rock, those are a bunch of criminals that the Queen of England was purging out of the country. And she put them and said, go to America. Okay? All right, and they're criminals. And they come here and they rape, they kill, they do everything to the Indians, and they went to Africa and they found a way, because they're lazy, they found a way to bring people here and enslave them and sell them and do all type of stuff for them to build their land and farm their land and rape and do everything. These are the most wickedest people on the fucking planet. I don't care what they think. You know what's so funny? The funny thing is, okay, I could fast forward from what I just said to what my life is right now. I got 5 kids and all 5 of their spouses are white. And all my grandkids I have white. Okay? With all of that happen, I have no racism in me. I'm not racist at all. But I could tell you what their great-great-great-great-grandfather did
to the ancestors.
And they're not keeping them accountable to what their great-great-great-grandfather did. Yeah. Because it's not them.
Yeah. Pivoting back a little bit,
yeah.
if you let me. Because I don't want to gloss over what you said. Younger, you didn't have the option to grieve. It wasn't given to you.
No.
That you couldn't go.
No.
But even now, when you have the power to grieve, what do you make of your decision to not visit your brother's grave and I don't know about your father, and then your grandmother. Do you
I
feel
don't
like
visit
you
my dad all
deserve?
the time, right? Because I'm older now.
Okay.
But I feel like I keep on saying, and it didn't occur to me to, you know, when you bury somebody that, to me, they're gone and you're never going to see them again. Okay, I wasn't a person that believed in anything in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was more about science than the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as I got older. So, you know, you can't bring only one person according to the Bible that came back from the dead, and that's Jesus Christ. But I wasn't there. I don't know. It's a story. I think the Bible is put together because they need to regulate people. Mm-hmm. That's what I feel, and that's what probably I still feel, to be honest with you. Okay, it's now that I'm probably more receptive to believe. I know Psalms 23, okay? And that's all I know. I don't know nothing else.
So how do you get peace when it comes to what to do about grieving your brother? Right now, you're still in pain, and you should be, because you were not allowed to be human. Mm-hmm. Like you just move on because he's not here? Mm. How do you get the closure?
I don't know what that looks like, to be honest with you. I really don't.
Do you have an idea about what you want when it comes to your brother?
Well, no, because I could still see him, you know. When I go to my mom's house, she got his biggest picture in the room. And I look at him, and every time I look at him, I see the last moment I saw him. You know, and I know I can't bring him back. There's nothing I could do about that. And I just don't deal with it. I just lock it away.
Yeah.
You know.
You know what we call that? Denial. Mm-hmm. And it's the first reaction to grief for almost anyone. Like, no, I know that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna go to sleep and act like I didn't hear that. No, not my brother, not my mother, not my father, not my son. Mm-hmm. No, this is not real. Mm-hmm. It's the first. And then the second piece is anger. Mm-hmm. What's happening is you're stuck in the grief process at denial. Mm-hmm. Maybe even at anger. Because the last step, which is a luxury, is where you get to acceptance, to where I've grieved, I've been through shock and denial, mm-hmm. and then I woke up and they weren't there, mm-hmm. all right? And it was disrupted because people say, you know, how many brothers do you have? And then I tell them the number and I think, man, one of them's not here. So you're triggered on a regular basis. You might see your brother's clothes. You might hear someone say, you remember this time.
You know what it did? You know what it does? I'm gonna be honest with you. What it does is that it made me develop this skill set to turn off. Mm. Okay? Because I've been in relationships where, like, I love really, really, really hard. All right? But when I don't feel what I'm giving, okay, and I give all that I can give, because, you know, like, it's like I'm looking for that love that's missing in my life, right? Okay, and when I don't get it, then when I walk away, I walk away.
So you just off. Either you on or you off.
I'm off. Okay, and I locked it away.
Okay.
I was telling somebody the other day, I was talking about my first wife, which is my two oldest kids. My daughter, Portia, is going to be 42. Okay. My son, Peter, that's going to be 37 or 38. Okay. Okay.
Now, you're how old when you married for the first time?
I was young. I was 20, in my early 20s. Okay. Okay, and then for 3 years it was beautiful, and then I walked away from it for the fact that she wanted me to be something that I know I couldn't be.
What do you mean by that?
I know it was destined for greatness. Mm-hmm. I always knew it. I dream a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm a dreamer. Okay, and I like to manifest. Okay, so she wanted me to have the job that her father had. He was a conductor for the train system in New York City. Okay. The guy who opened the door and closed the door. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I was working for the city of New York as a social worker. And one day I went to work and I realized I had a case load of a family called the Esters, Hesters. And, you know, they give the new guy, I'm going to give you a story, it's funny as fuck. So when I got this job, it was a Linden Center, number 67, 210 Livingston Street, downtown Brooklyn, New York.
You still remember that?
Across from A&S. And I was 22 years old when I got the job. And to me, I got the job because my high school sweetheart that I ended up getting married to, and my first two kids, that's their mom, she had sickle cell disease. All right, and with sickle cell disease, they have to clean her blood every 6 months. If not, she's not gonna live long, right? So I took the job with the best benefit, not the job that I want, not the job that I like. I'm a late bloomer. I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do, to be honest with you. So I'm just going with the flow.
Okay.
All right, and they had great benefits, so I took it. And when she was pregnant with my daughter, Portia, she was hospitalized for like probably around 5 months because they have to watch her every day. If not, my baby would die.
Jeez.
Right? So I took the job. This is crazy.
Sorry, brother.
I usually don't give a fuck what people think about me, so I don't care. But I took that job because of her, not because of me. Because the benefit that comes along with the job. All right, and I thought I could make a change. But I had this caseload, the Esters. And I remember, it's a huge family. And I remember when I meet the young people, I was like, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to do? And they were dreamers just like me. But the matriarch of the family, the grandmother, didn't want them to do anything. Because if they leave the caseload, the check get lower. Okay, so she was getting like at the time, I'm talking about, I was 22, so this was back in 1982. I'm talking about they getting like $8,000 in food stamps. I'm talking about the public assistance check that they get every other week was huge. She wasn't trying to fuck that up. So she would suppress her own grandkids from dreaming and from doing things, be all that they can be, because how dare you? You're never going to be more than what it is. And it was the family from Bedford-Stuyvesant, I remember that.
So you're getting it on two fronts. You're seeing dreamers be suppressed on your caseload, and then at the same time, are you saying you felt suppressed in your marriage because you had to be something you didn't want to be?
No, I didn't feel that. I felt like, you know, my father raised me where we had to be accountable. You know, we had to be providers. So sometimes you have to, my father, I think he had no choice but to put himself second, okay, to provide for his kids.
So that's another lesson.
Yeah.
One, if your dad modeled not being happy with one woman. You honor that woman by providing. But also I see self-sacrifice. We taught it like self-erasure. It's not about you. It's about taking care of your wife. On top of that, Peter, the erasure of being able to grieve your brother. Are you seeing a theme that some of the lessons that your dad taught you, one theme at least, is putting yourself second, last, or maybe even non-existent?
I know that he was putting himself second because he used to after work, he used to get drunk, okay? And I used to have to go find him to bring him home. And when we was on the job talking like, Dad, why you drink so much? Why you always getting so drunk? And he said, you'll understand when you get older. And I said, why? And he said, like, I'm never living for me, I'm living for you and your brothers and your sisters.
Wow.
Okay?
What a heavy burden. Right now, you feeling something?
Because that's what hurt when he died.
What do you mean?
When he died, I felt like he never lived for himself.
Can I ask you a tough question?
Mm-hmm. You can ask me anything, bro.
Yeah. As his son, do you wish that he had lived for himself? And maybe
I wonder if he was ever happy. I think he's happy when he was with us because he never left us. So I think with all the decision that he made, he was still happy when he was with his kids. And he was a man of few words. You know, like there's people that came into my life that met my father, and they said, does he talk? Because he never talked. He just looked.
So how did y'all have a relationship?
Huh?
How did y'all have?
Vibrations, bro.
Okay, just vibes.
Just vibes. My father hit me once in my entire life. And then I remember when I was 22 years old and I quit being a social worker, and my sister was dating this guy that was selling coke. Mm-hmm. All right, and the guy I was way smarter than him, but he was making more money than me. And I asked him about it, and he like, oh, well, you could do this, and you could work for me, and you could do this, and he gave me an eight ball, and I went on the street, and cocaine was huge, and when crack just came out, it was big. Mm-hmm. All right, and I would take that 8 ball and I turn it into a quarter, and from a quarter I turn it into a half, from a half I turn it into a kilo, and then I outgrew him. And I remember getting into a fight with that guy, my sister, because he thought he was trying to son me, and I'm looking at him like, you're dumb. You don't even, where you at? I'm not trying to be. And I remember because I went to Miami when I quit my social service job, and I went back to Miami, and like my personality, I meet people and I meet connections, and I start buying a lot of drugs and bringing it back to New York. And my father stopped talking to me because he knew what I was doing. And I was doing it in the lobby of the building that he lived. Mm-hmm. And that corner was my corner. Everybody on that block worked for me, okay? I never tried cocaine or did cocaine a day in my life, not even because I see what it did to people. Mm-hmm. And I knew that the only way I was going to get out of this neighborhood is by that tool. And I knew it wasn't going to be a career. I knew it was something I was going to do for a couple of years, and I got robbed by the police a couple of times in New York City. They pulled me over and take $200,000-$300,000 from me and kick me in the ass and tell me if I say anything, they're going to kill me. Okay? All right? So I was hiding from the police, the robbers, and everybody.
And your dad wasn't speaking to you?
He did not speak to me for 3 years.
What message did that send to you as a young man?
That what do I care about? I found out that I needed to do what I had to do because I watched my father work as a carpenter for, at that time, probably 30 years, mm-hmm. and couldn't live above a certain level. All right, and I wanted to, mm-hmm. and I knew the way I was raised and conditioned, I wasn't able to. Okay, so I had to do something to get out, and that's what I chose to do to get out. And he didn't speak to me. He didn't speak to me until I got out, and I wasn't doing it anymore. I was in Miami, and I opened a shoe store. I opened an Italian men's shoe store, mm-hmm. okay, in Coconut Grove. Mm-hmm. Second black owner in the history of Coconut Grove on Main Highway. Okay, selling Italian shoes, going to Bologna, Italy to buy Lorenzo Bonfi and Antonio Testoni and Sandro Mascaloni, all these shoes that, and selling them to Colombians and Venezuelans and Cubans on Main Highway in Miami.
So there's a connection
Yeah.
between seeing your dad work every day faithfully and still not being able to move you and your siblings out of poverty.
Never.
And you decided, that's not gonna be me.
Nah.
And when you went a different route.
I had to break the law to get beyond that. I had to break the law. I had to do everything that he taught me not to do.
But he disapproved of that.
He disapproved.
How did y'all come to peace? Did y'all ever come to peace that he taught you to provide? You saw how it worked to provide, but not at a means that was maybe livable or suitable for how you wanted to raise them?
I was living, my girlfriend was pregnant with my daughter. I lived right around the block from him. We both was paying rent to Jewish landlords. I was thinking, how am I gonna get out of this? How am I gonna get out of here? How am I gonna make myself better? I feel like me going to Oklahoma and going to Spartan School of Aeronautics and learning aeronautical engineer didn't do anything for me back in Brooklyn, New York. I felt like I'm back where I started. I don't even know why I wasted 2.5 years of my life in Oklahoma. Okay, and I had no choice but to do what they were doing, and they were making so much money. I felt like I was smarter than all of them. And I wasn't going to make my money and stay in. I was going to buy things and I was going to move up. And I chose to do that, and my father was disappointed in me. And I was hurt that he didn't speak to me. I was hurt that he walked past me and didn't even say hello, you know. And I said, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to do this and get out of here and show him that I was only doing this to get out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I did.
And that wasn't, I mean, I know this is a judgment, but, you know, well, I'll ask you as a father, you know, when your kids have certainly done things you disapprove of. Yeah. Right?
Two of them.
Okay.
Two of them.
Should you, how do you send a message that's proper, that you disapprove, that doesn't make them feel abandoned?
I do. I have a son, my older son, that followed in my footsteps. And I think the moment that he had his first child, then he felt like, I said to him, what happened if they come to get you and they got your spouse and then they put your kid in a home and then I have to fight to go get that kid? And I think he woke up when I said that.
So you didn't turn your back on him?
I did not.
You had a conversation?
Yes, because I produce these kids and I provide for these kids, but I didn't raise these kids. Their mom did.
What do you mean by that?
Because the moment things wasn't going the way that I thought it should be with their mother, I left. Okay, I don't want to be in anything that I'm unhappy about because my life is unhappy to begin with. So I left to find happiness elsewhere. But I never leave my kid without providing for my child. I leave the woman that I've never met before I met her, but now I have a kid with her. I don't have to be with her, but I'm going to provide for my kid. That was my mentality.
Yeah.
That was my mentality.
Yeah. Peter, first of all, I commend you on being so open.
Yeah.
I mean, that's real.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of men looking at this, like, I didn't know I had permission to be this vulnerable. I thought I had to just lock it away and suffer in silence. What I hear is like this complicated, like these complicated themes coming together.
I was my father. I wanted the unhappiness that he had, that he used to get drunk all the time and I used to have to go and find him to bring him home, and he stuck with us and he never left us. I said, I don't want that to be me. So if I'm in a situation and I'm not happy with it, I'm gonna leave the situation, but I'm not gonna leave my child. Okay, I'm gonna provide for my child. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm unhappy. I don't want to be drunk where my kid have to come and find me. You know what I'm saying?
What do you do about Peter who loves hard though? Like when we talk about these women, right? The women you loved, right?
I never won in that. I never won in that arena.
What do you mean?
I have been with 6 women in my entire life that I said I live with, and I never won in that arena. That arena, I always lost. Okay, my thing is when I start dating somebody, is for me to build them up. If I usually, because I'm in a community where I'm from, like we're not upper class. We coach. We're in the back of the plane. So because I'm in the back of the plane, I meet back of the plane people. You know what I'm saying? And I always trying to build them. I always trying to find someone that I could build up that we could be first class together. Okay, but if you don't have the mentality to be in first class, and I do, and I know no matter what I do, you don't have the mentality to be in first class, then I'm gonna leave you in the coach. Okay? But I'm gonna take my child with me. I want to make sure that I make my child don't think like a person that should be in coach, but you could be in first class.
I get it.
You know what I'm saying? But I would leave. But the thing is that I felt like I never won because I've been in relationships with all type of people, to be honest with you. All right, and none of them would ever say anything ill about me for the fact that I've done a lot for them. I've done more for them than they have done for me.
Did you hear what you just said?
Yes.
Where did you learn that love, you know where I'm going, was about
No, I don't know where you're going. I'm laughing because this session could go on forever. Because I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm at a place where I'm better.
What do you mean?
I don't feel like several relationships later I am in a place where I'm better. I get more joy spending time with myself than spending with others. Okay, because I'm never going to disappoint me.
Yeah. That's how it is?
That's how I feel.
You see relationships as guaranteed disappointment.
Yeah,
all right.
I do.
Yeah, one of the things that, you shared
I was
earlier.
looking at your Instagram earlier, and I was scrolling through your Instagram, and I see you and your family, you and your wife and your kids, and I see one of the shots I saw on Instagram was where you guys was wearing matching pajamas, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I always daydream about having a family where we could wear matching pajamas. But that was never my life.
Yeah.
Okay, I was a street cat, okay, who had no choice but to be a street cat, okay, who didn't even want that type of family because I know what comes along with my life is that my family could be at risk. So matching pajamas was never in my equation. You know what I'm saying? And I said that to someone recently and they didn't even understand what the fuck I was saying. But I would rather be alone than something happened to someone that I love because of me. Okay? All right, and I walked away from that life December 1990, which is a long time ago. But I still have that mentality.
That anyone attached to you could get hurt.
Yeah.
Peter, that's a lot to carry around. Can I push back?
You can.
Is that fair?
Not for them.
What about for you?
I don't care about me as much as I care about them.
How can that be? You're a real human being with real feelings.
Yeah, no, but, it's crazy because what you become and what you are is not necessarily what you want to be. And the same reason why I never went and visit my brother's grave, because I couldn't change anything about that. Okay, I've been in 2 marriages where it didn't work, and I shut it off. I was married to someone on a public platform, with millions of people watching. And if you ask me about the good times with that person, I don't think I could name 5.
How is that possible?